Thank you so much, Bob. And wow, I get to follow Leader Pelosi. Wow, what a wonderful advocate. And of course, my colleague, Debbie Dingell. So this is my fifth Arts Advocacy Day since I joined Congress. And thank you so much to Bob and Americans for the Arts. And as Leader Pelosi said, things are different. And as Debbie Dingell said, Motown. So I just want to say, mercy, mercy me, things ain't what they used to be this time. So why do I care so much about the arts? I grew up with the arts. My mother was a piano teacher, and even though I represent a great district in Oregon, and I know my West Coast folks are just waking up, but I represent a great district in Oregon, but I actually was born in Detroit, Michigan, and grew up outside of Detroit. One of my favorite places to go as a child was the Detroit Institute of Art, so I just wanted to give a little shout out to Darren Walker for his role in helping to preserve that. So I grew up I went through public schools, and we had arts and music in public schools. So then after I got to Oregon, had my own kids, and they started going to public schools. Well, this is the era of No Child Left Behind and budget cuts. So what got cut first? The arts, right? So I became an education advocate at the state level, stood on the Capitol steps waving Save Our School signs, helped run parent-led arts programs in schools because the schools were cutting them. Then I got to Congress a little more than 5 years ago, and I serve on the Education Committee and the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. And what was everybody talking about? STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math, and why all the jobs are in STEM, and we have to educate people to work in the STEM fields. But nobody was talking about how we educate people to be creative. It's an innovation economy, and everybody said, well, we need innovators. We don't get innovators by cutting the arts, right? We need creative and innovative people in all fields, and we know that people become creative when they're exposed to the arts. And you heard about the whole range of things. One of my favorite movies is Mr. Holland's Opus, filmed in Oregon, of course, and telling the story about what happens when arts get cut. So I started the STEAM Caucus, about a little more than about 5 years ago. So we now have 87 bipartisan members. My co-chair is Representative Elise Stefanik from New York. We did send a letter together, a bipartisan letter opposing cuts to the NEA. And Chair Chu is here, and when the chair of the NEA, Chair Chu, was out visiting Oregon, we went to a couple of the STEAM schools out there, and I think, nodding her head here, she's blown away by how engaged students are when they are integrated arts and arts in all of their classes, and arts connecting other fields of study. So it really makes a difference. We have, as Bob mentioned, the Every Student Succeeds Act, now have federal policy encouraging, not requiring, but inspiring schools to integrate arts into STEM. And I visit businesses as well as schools, businesses and nonprofits. I have 25 school districts in my congressional districts. You want hope for the future, go talk to students, right? They're the future. I have never once had a business tell me, or a nonprofit organization say, we're looking for a really good test taker, rote learner, right? They say, we want creative people who can come up with new ways to solve problems. People who don't just know how to answer questions, they know what questions to ask. People who can invent new things and create new things. That all comes from arts education. So my message today is, when you're up on the Hill, please invite the member you're speaking with to join the STEAM Caucus. We have really made a difference in federal policy. We also got a piece of policy in the Career and Technical Education bill that passed the House but not the Senate. So we keep pushing for that. But as you heard earlier, more important than ever this year, to send the message that cuts are not acceptable, especially in the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities and Public Broadcasting. So short-sighted. So, a couple people have mentioned the comments made by the budget director about how people in rural areas or people who are struggling shouldn't have to pay for the arts. What if we took the budget for the wall and put it into the arts, right? That works for me. So arts is not partisan, but for those of you who heard Darren Walker speak last night, it's also not an urban-rural issue. And so I was down in a very rural part of the district I'm honored to represent, down in Yamhill County, Oregon, McMinnville, Oregon, doing a town hall meeting a couple weeks ago. It's a county Donald Trump won in Blue, Oregon. But at that town hall meeting, we had a lot of people show up, and the second question was from a woman who stood up and said, you know, and this is in a rural area, in a district, in a county that Donald Trump won. She said, you know, I really don't think you need to build a wall. But if you build a wall, could you please make it like a beautiful work of art and have kiosks and ferns and passageways so we could have a recipe exchange and build relationships. And by the way, while you're at it, please do not cut funding for the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. So it's not a partisan issue. It's not an urban-rural issue. This is important in every part of our country. So please let your voices be amplified here today. Again, more important than ever for you to be here, for you to explain why arts matter. And thanks again to Americans for the Arts. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here today and all you do. Thank you.